Hello. This is a battle report of what I think of as the most important battle of the Danish Nationals for me. It was my matchup in round uh, 4 against Manuel, the current ruling world champion. And I had actually faced Manuel half a year before at another tournament here in Denmark where I had lost to him in sectors, and we were playing envelopment. And I'll talk you through the board. I'll talk you through the tactical decisions of what happened. I'll sort of like I have on my whiteboard behind me. I have annotated the map, and I have a red and a blue. The blue will be the Brits. The red will be Manuel. He was using Italians. I'm not going to talk in detail about the lists. They are on this channel. Go to the list reviews. There's one for myself, the army I was using, and one for Manuel's army as well. Both armies were sort of tank platoon-ish. Manuel was using a triple platoon Italian list with 6 armored choices. I was using a British tank platoon with 3 Dhaka Stuarts and a couple of Dhaka Jeeps. So those were the lists. My infantry was Gurkhas, Para-Gurkhas even. His infantry was all shirker, inexperienced dudes in huge squads. So, yeah. So let me talk you through the map, and I'll then try to sort of like blow by blow ish talk you through the early game and late game, how it went. So this was sort of how our table ended up looking. We had lots of buildings. These like large squares with buildings. They were all of them houses. I think this one was actually ruined, and this was definitely a ruin. And then over here we had some like towers that we ruled them as hard cover. These towers, and there was also a wall going here, which part of it was low enough that an infantry model could see over it, but part of it was too high. Then we had some forests. We had forests here, 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 and here, and a couple of lonely trees down in this area. We had some fields here, here, and here, and one here, and we ruled them as rough ground, so not passable for wheeled vehicles, and rough ground for infantry. Right. We had a single hill over here, and then I think that there were some fences in this area. They weren't really important. They were like low or hedge style things, so maybe just annotate some of that. I think it was like something like this. I'm not quite sure. I hope you can see the colors there on my screen. I know it's not very clear, but it's difficult with the camera and all. Right. Now, we had some roads which were kind of important in envelopment, right? But these roads were blocked. We had a road running here where we had a civilian vehicle standing there. And we actually had a bit of a different interpretation which came up later game, which was sort of crucial, but it wasn't the deciding single factor, but in Denmark, we usually play these as impassable terrain. Manuel wanted to run over them with one of his tanks. I think we rolled off for it at some point. But we had 3 trucks placed around on these roads, which were blocking the road, so you couldn't just like run over the roads. We also had some tank traps here, cutting off this section completely. So whoever was going down this road couldn't actually get around the truck and the tank traps. It was not possible. You couldn't just run down the road. So the first thing that happens when we come to the table is we roll off to see who gets to be attacker and defender. Manuel wins the roll, and he chooses to attack. And as soon as he did that, I knew that I had a better than 70% chance of winning. And this is simply because the attacker is coming into the board as first wave or reserves. And Manuel, all his infantry was shirkers. So he was going to have a difficult time moving his infantry up. And Manuel, if you're watching, I know you do sometimes, you can tell me why you chose to do that with all those shirkers in your list. I think it was because I was playing Brits, and being the defender against the Brits, British list who has preparatory bombardment, is really punishing. So I think Manuel knew that this mission was a hard matchup for him, and I think he chose what he thought of as the best possible decision here. I just disagree. I think that he would have been better off defending, simply because he couldn't really support his armor as he came forward, because his infantry was getting pinned down and couldn't really move. So that was the first crucial decision that I think maybe was a mistake from Manuel that ended up deciding the game. As soon as I knew where I was defending, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I'll annotate it on the map now. So I was looking over the map, thinking about where could Manuel actually push out of my back zone. He had 3 vehicles that were wheeled and had recce. So I knew that if he could push them up, he could make a run 24 inches, and then next turn, if I shot at them, he could recce. If he got the first die, he could recce, or run out. So I really needed to block them. So that was the first thing that I did. And I used my trucks. I placed my trucks here, here, and here, blocking off his possibility of running straight out along these lines. Then I was thinking about, okay, I need to keep my trucks alive. So I placed a unit of infantry there, Gurkhas. I placed a second unit of Gurkhas here behind this building because I wanted them to be safe while the preparatory bombardment was coming in, while Manuel was choosing where to attack. I wanted them to be safe, and I wanted them to be able to move in either direction, either over to this side of the board or to this side of the board, depending on where he would attack. I already believed at that point that he would attack over here, which he ended up doing as well. So, and you might say, well, this unit is way off center. It's like on the other side of the board. Yeah, but these were all houses. So I knew I could use them to run inside the house and then run out the house on the other side. The final unit of Gurkhas I placed over here, cutting off the final access point here so that he couldn't run out along this like edge here. Just placing like 1 Gurkha out there. So they were in hard cover behind the house, but I had blocked off the exit for him. I kept my stewards and my Dhaka jeeps in reserve because I wanted them to come in to counter his, whatever he did. I wanted them to like block off. I needed them to duel his tanks, his armored cars, so they didn't just run off my table side at some point or push through me, but I could actually duel them, maybe even stop them, and then cause casualties. That was my plan. Now, Manuel takes the first turn. He rolls his preparatory bombardment. It does not come down. He rolls a 1, which was... no, he didn't roll a 1. No, you did get your preparatory bombardment. It really didn't do much, did it? Oh, maybe you rolled a 1. I think you rolled a 1. Shit. No, that's right. You did roll a 1. It did not come down. Because my units were unpinned. So that was bad. Although, for Manuel, although I don't think it would have made much difference, because I spent the first turn Manuel did as I expected. He ran up some of his armored car choices on all of these where I had blocked him off, and he took some shots at me. And instead of killing the trucks, he just pinned them. He was running his armored choices as inexperienced to save the points, and it really did not pay off here because he was rolling 6s all the time. He needed to roll those 6s, and yes, some of them came up, but then you have to roll a second 6, right? And that just it didn't really happen for him. So he pinned my trucks, but he didn't get to kill them. Now he's at this point, I noticed that Manuel has a difficult choice because he can see that he's not killing the things that he needs to kill in order to be ahead and do something that can win him the game. And he has a difficult choice choosing now where to place his infantry. So he ends up running all his infantry into one huge blob over here. All of this is Italian infantry. He had many units coming in. A few of them run in here, but most end up in this area here. He also places 2 mortar teams here in order to be able to shoot into this area where he thinks that the combat is going to be. I'm pretty happy for him to do that because at these points he can shoot indirectly at some of my units, but not all. And as long as I keep behind houses, I am perfectly safe from his indirect fire. His tanks all attack along this axis here, going down towards the only open ground that they can find. But at this point, Manuel, I hope you can see, he is so clumped up over here that when my preparatory bombardment comes down, I had placed my observer, I didn't say that, I have placed him over here, there, looking over the wall, and he had just enough line of sight to be able to, and I had checked this beforehand when we came to the table. I checked that I could see like a very slim line between those houses all the way to that forest. And I placed my artillery bombardment there. I think it was turn 2 when all his stuff was still there. And it scatters a bit, but it does come down on top of all his infantry, and it does kill stuff. I think it killed a whole unit of infantry, and the rest gets pinned, which is really bad for shirkers, right? Because they take double pins, or they count as double pinned when they're taking morale tests. So it was really, really difficult for Manuel to get his infantry to do anything, let alone move. They were just, they got stuck in that corner so quickly. So, and the armored cars that he had run up over here, I counted them. I ran up a steward here, took a shot at his armored car that had already shot that turn, shoot, killed. One shot, one kill. The other one, I moved my trucks aside. I ran my Gurkhas into the house for them to be able to do stuff later. I ran these Gurkhas up along the houses here. These stayed in place. But I already at this point, like turn 2, I was already thinking about, well, I can use these houses to just advance up and start attacking. Remember, I'm defending in this scenario, but I want to take dice from Manuel. I want to go up there and hit that pinned infantry with my Gurkhas, with my close combat troops, so that I can kill them. So all of this having moved aside, I ran the second steward in here, took a shot, he recce's, and I think Manuel made a mistake here. He recce's into this little alleyway here, and there was really no way out of it for him. So turn 3 or 4, I actually had my Gurkhas in here go out and block his X's. He couldn't pass it by here, and he couldn't do anything else. So I end up actually on this side moving my steward in, taking a shot into his rear end of his armored car and killing that one as well. Because I simply blocked him into that alley. He couldn't move out. So both of the armored cars on this side were down and out, and he had nothing else on that side except for a lieutenant behind this ruin, which I end up moving up to and shooting as well with the surviving steward. So this steward, at the end of the game, ran up there. Now, on this side, Manuel's armor actually does make it through into my lines here, but it is really difficult for him to get anything killed. He shoots at my Gurkhas, they go down or they're on hard cover, so he kills a few, but definitely not enough. And as soon as the armor has passed, I move in with a charge his infantry. I start killing units one by one. At that point, I actually also, in like turn 5, I think it was, I started moving these Gurkhas up into another charge. I ran them into the house, and then out of the house, and then that way. So all of my infantry units were by that point attacking. And by then, I had moved a Piat team behind the house, so he was unwilling to just move into that area because I had anti-tank capabilities. And what's even worse for him, I had moved the final Stuart up here, and this Stuart had driven over here. So I had 2 Stuarts shooting up his armor. Now, I didn't really kill that much of it, but I did pin some of it. And him being inexperienced, having to move to get shots on me, it simply made that duel was not going his way. I believe you killed one of my stewards with a shot here, but the other simply survived and continued shooting into the side of his armor. So he couldn't push all the way through. He got stuck, being pinned and being shot at by the Piat team, or having to shoot at the Piat team in order not to die. But before I moved, this is one crucial moment where there's a mistake from Manuel's side. I had placed one of my Darker Jeeps here. Can't even remember where I placed the other Darker Jeep right now. I think it was somewhere in the middle here. Doesn't really matter. I placed one of my Darker Jeeps here. This Darker Jeep had gone, turn 2, had gone on ambush. And Manuel had all his troops over here. And at this point, I leave the Darker Jeep on ambush going from turn 2 to turn 3. And I think Manuel forgot about it. Because what he does next is he drives his Fiat with a flamer team and a lieutenant from the reserves at a run move all the way up. And he wanted them to be near the house so he could flame the Gurkhas behind the house at that point. They were moving into that house that turn. So he moves up the Fiat and I say, right, I take the shot. And he was like, what? Oh shit, I just lost the game. And he did. At that point, he had cover for his armored car being in front, but he was at close range. So I was hitting on 5s. I had 10 dice. Boom. I had 4 hits. Boom. 2 6s. Boom. Dead Fiat. Then I roll, the lieutenant dies, and the flamer team dies. So 3 dice off right there in that one ambush, and that was a killer. So even though I ended up actually moving into his back lines and killing, and I now remember where the final armored car was. I think it was somewhere here, because that actually ended up driving all the way down and shooting his mortar team down here, killing that. So I killing that one unit that he had pushed up. I don't know if it would have made a huge difference that it was there, but it was there. It was a flamer. It could have done damage, and I would definitely have not walked into that house had that flamer been alive. But me being on ambush was key to killing that, and him forgetting that I was on ambush was key to winning the game. So I end up here winning the game. And I also took way more dice. I think it was 11-2 in dice count. So it was really a really good game, and I could tell that Manuel was struggling all through the game. He knew what his situation was, and I knew what his situation was, and he did try to come out of it, but he simply could not. I had him exactly where I wanted him all through that game. Manuel, thank you so much for allowing me the chance to redeem my honor after having lost to you at Bück, and I really enjoyed our game. It was one of the times where I really felt like goddamn, I'm a good player. I know exactly what I'm doing here. So, and in order to do that, you're going to have to fight and beat other good players, right? So, thank you so much for the game, Manuel, and I hope to see you again soon at the WTC. Cheers.